I'm Jackie Hinton, and I am the owner of Goodcitizenla. I created the Pilates world's first personal Pilates loops. So
Mhm.
you can take your own loops to the Pilates class, to the Pilates studio, and you don't have to share the communal loops anymore.
I was sharing it with the Cairo here in the studio. I was like, look at this. This is, and he's like so simple and so brilliant, right? It's like, thank you. Like that's like, I,
Oh,
I just think that that's just brilliant, right?
well, thank
Because
you.
yeah, it's right there and it's right in front of us. And I don't know how many of those are out there on the market, other companies doing that, but you're doing it and you're doing it in such a great, creative, fun way.
Thank you. It's been fun. It's awesome because we've just gotten to connect with the community, which is really cool because I didn't really being in LA, you kind of get in your little Pilates group and you don't really
Yes.
meet anybody outside, and this has really expanded that. So that's been really cool too.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, so hula roots yogini is, can you explain a little bit more about these personal loops and like what it is and how it came about?
Yeah, so when I was getting certified in Pilates, um, I just started to realize how many people were coming in and out of the Pilates studio and using the same loops that are on the Reformer and Cadillac. And I was just like, oh my gosh, and I have to use those too. And all these people have put their bare hands and feet in them. And I just thought it was really gross. So I was like, well, why can't we have our own loops?
Mhm.
And why can't they be super cute as well? Something to add to the Pilates studio, maybe motivate you a little more during your Pilates class. Just add a little pop of color.
Yes. I use that for a title, motivation for your practice, because that seems like it is such a minuscule piece of the puzzle when it comes to motivation. But at the same time, that's exactly what motivation is. It's that little thing that pushes you over the edge.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and color, they've done lots of studies on color and how it can affect your workouts and your whole day. And
Mm.
so that's why we, kind of chose and went in that direction of bringing something fun and special and bright to help your Pilates practice.
Right. So we moved from a bland black on black loop that everybody shares to be able to walk in with your own bespoke loops for your Pilates thing. And
Correct.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just like taking your own yoga mat to yoga class or like your
Yeah.
own boxing gloves or your own spin shoes. Like, who wants to share spin shoes? That's just
Bowling
like,
shoes.
oh, bowling shoes? No, thank you. Like,
So this is like this is heaven for the germaphobe who just like would
yes,
bring their own bowling shoes, own boxing gloves, own yes. Yes.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Yes, and they're black so you don't see the dirt and grime from the last person. Too funny.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is the question that I thought of right out the gate for this. For you see behind me, I have my like my garage equipment with their leather and their handles and stuff like that. So are these loops that you had, are they just for contemporary Pilates people?
No, I do have people who have purchased them from us to use on their classical equipment. We do have a loop that you fold it over. It has this floating D ring on it, and you can
Mhm.
fold it over and it shortens to about the same size as the classical handles.
Okay,
So you can use it on the classical equipment.
very cool. For
Yeah.
those of you who are in the chat, I just show of hands, those of you who have these, use these, love these. Emmett, I don't know, Emmett Younger is in the chat. He's a fantastic teacher from the UK. I was wondering if are you into the UK and all places, or is it more a North American thing at this point?
We're worldwide.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, mostly in the US, but we have expanded worldwide. It's just a whole different ball game that we're just learning as we go. So,
Yes. Yeah. So how long have you actually been doing actually in business with these for?
we launched in 2015. I came up with the idea in 2006. It took a
Ooh.
hot second. Um,
Right.
so like
Yes.
almost 6 years this year.
Yeah. That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Super
Yeah.
fun.
Yes. I find that like whenever I'm having these conversations with people, whenever it comes to like businesses that are just outside of Pilates that we do that complements our Pilates, where I have like a million questions. You know, for I know because like people are watching and
Yeah.
we're Pilates people or we're fitness people, but then you think like I want to invent something or I want to open a studio, I want to have a bricks and mortar, I want to be a consultant, I want to be a public speaker, I want to teach. Like you want to do Pilates and
Right.
right, so your Pilates and for you is this product.
Hmm.
So for those of us out there who are Pilates and a product, that's the base of my questions. Like, how did you come up with the idea? How did you start it? How did it go? What's been your biggest failures? What's been your like? That's the kind of thing I want to find out because there's gonna be someone who hears you and is like, "That's awesome. I have this idea. I'm gonna run with it now because I heard Jackie today."
Right. Yeah, thank the Lord for Google,
Yes.
um, and the internet. Like, when I came up with the idea, I did talk to a few of my friends who are in the fashion industry out here, and they kind
Mhm.
of directed me a little bit, like to manufacturers and things like that. And that was just crazy because this person, the first manufacturer that we spoke with, was supposed to be like the person to go to. And then we
Yes.
had them do the loops and they came back, and I was like, oh my God, this is the ugliest thing I've
Oh
ever
no.
seen. And
Yes.
I always explain it as like Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears. We went to three manufacturers. The first one was terrible, the way they made the loops. The second one was amazing, but
Yeah.
took too long.
Oh
And then
no.
the
Yes.
third one was just perfect, and that's the one that we chose. But it took a while, and just having them make samples and um, testing them out on the machines and making sure they were comfortable on people's hands and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Wow.
So that was the beginning of that. And I mean, you can just, with the internet today, you can find anything, I feel like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's no right or wrong way of doing anything. So, you know, I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is just do it the way you want to do it, and don't like watch other companies and be like, but they're doing it this way,
Yes.
you don't have to do it any
Well,
way but your way. So,
but there's a right way and a wrong way, and there's a smart way. There's an
yeah,
efficient way, there's a fast way, right? So I mean, like,
correct.
did you surround yourself with some people who had some kind of business acumen to say, okay, this way is a kind of a best practice. Do it your way, but like if you're as long as you're going in this direction, you know what I mean, to kind of save you time. Like, do you have those people in your world?
No, I don't. But
Okay, good for you.
but what happened was the way that we ended up getting like the kick in the rear to make this start happening is my husband decided to go back to college. So
Okay,
he went to college for a semester out after high school and then dropped out. And so then when he turned 35, he was like, I think I want to go to college and get my degree. And so
yes,
do it. Great.
yes,
So when he was at school, he needed to take some extra classes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you should take some business entrepreneurship classes." So when he
yes.
did that, they had to work on a project with people in their class, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I already have a business. Let's work on this." So they
Yes.
actually wrote our business plan and all of that at his as his project in school.
Well, there you go.
So we did have that. So they
Oh,
kind of
just
like
that.
learned about it as he went, and then we went from there. But everything else we did on our own.
Yeah, other than like a university think tank, you
Well, I mean,
right. That's
so
awesome.
yeah.
Then okay, so then it's grown from there, obviously, because
Hmm.
I've seen you everywhere. I'm like,
Oh,
did you speak
thanks.
at Momentum Fest too?
Yes, had a booth, a virtual booth, and then we were on a panel just about the last year and all the stuff that went down.
Yes,
So
very cool. And then
yeah.
how did you come up with the name?
Good citizen. It took a
Yes.
long time. So I was a huge fan of Helen Keller growing up.
Hmm.
So much so that my mom had to tell the librarian I wasn't allowed to check out her book anymore and do book reports on her. And if you look
Wow.
up the definition of good citizen,
Hmm.
Helen Keller is considered a good citizen.
Okay.
Um, just from all of the amazing acts that she did, despite, being blind and deaf.
Yes.
And so I just thought that was a really great, title for our company, because not only are you being good to yourself, but you're also being good to your neighbors by bringing your own loops and not spreading germs and sweat
Yes.
and all of that stuff. So that's
That's
where that came from.
that's so nice.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Helen
Yeah.
Keller.
Helen Keller. Okay, would you mind just talking a little bit more about why you admire Helen Keller, like the character of those pieces?
Well,
That's a great
gosh,
story. Yeah.
you're gonna make me tear up. I just think like she was just the fact that a person can succeed so much with being blind and deaf, um, is just fascinating to me. Like it just shows you that if you really put your mind to something, no matter your situation, you know, you can make things happen. I mean, that's
Mm,
just her obstacles were so huge that it was just inspiring to me to be able to, take what she had been through and be like, okay, I could have so many more obstacles, but I don't. So,
right.
just keep pushing forward. And yeah, so I mean, was she went to college, she graduated college, she, had a teacher that helped her
Hmm.
learn sign language. She fought for people's rights. Just she did everything. So I just feel
Yes,
like she's just inspiring to me.
absolutely. That the challenge that I hear in that is that we don't have those obstacles. We have some of our own challenges, but we don't have that many challenges. But are we maximizing our potential with what we have in the
Right.
same way that she did with what she had?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could be so much more challenging. And it's finding that, thing that makes you get up every day and be like, okay, I'm not just going to sit on the couch and watch my Netflix all day. I'm going to
Yes.
go do X, Y, and Z, so that I better my life and help other people. And what else can I do? There's different categories in your life. Like, what do I do to help myself and my family,
Hmm.
other people, my community, etc. And
Yes.
so it's just like trying to fill all of those little blocks
Yes.
that I feel is so important.
Yeah, not everyone feels that that's important. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like not everybody has that is wired in a way where they think I should be thinking about other people today, right?
right.
So
Totally.
yeah, so yeah, good for you.
Yeah. I feel like, if your community is in a good spot and we're all working together, things are just so much better when we're all working together. It's hard to do things by yourself,
Right.
like I'm
Yeah.
sure, like tell me about opening your studio. I mean, you what kind of support system did you have?
I have an amazing creative wife right out the
Awesome.
gate who everything you see behind me to even those pictures like here let's just start with those pictures on the wall there. There are no public domain pictures of men doing Pilates.
Right.
We searched, like we couldn't even find one to print.
Mm-hmm.
So she grabbed some pictures, a photo shoot I did many years ago, and then found an app to to change them into charcoal drawings, got them
So
printed,
cool.
and put them on the wall. So people could walk in and see a picture of a man doing Pilates besides Joseph Pilates. Like there's no one else, right? So
Right.
between him and me. So things like that, like having someone that's creative in your corner. So when I have like a big picture idea, she can come in with details and put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to give a shout out to Andrew, the guy who actually owns the studio, Andrew Stalteri, and he has, high octane training and therapy. And shout out to him with his chiros and his, everyone and trainers and everyone in this team. And we're just this tight knit group where, I've been doing personal training here for years. And then once the lockdown happened and my city contract ended, I was like, can we convert the lunchroom in the front into a Pilates studio?
Amazing.
And it took us like probably about 5 or 6 months to just kind of figure out what that would look like and where do we move this space and then what's it going to look like numbers wise. And we were both really committed to figuring out what that would look like. And actually, if I want to give another shout out to someone, Misty Lynn Cawthon was on the show and she was talking about micro businesses and boutique studios. And when she said micro business, I was like, we can totally make this a micro business, like a business within a business. And we can figure out a model that works and make it a broadcast studio. So I have like 200 square feet and a TV on the wall because everything's
Awesome.
virtual right now. So I'm not trying to get 6 people and 7 reformers in because that was like my only idea of what a Pilates studio looked like
Right.
until she said that. And then that was like the spark for all these different ideas of how it could work. And then my wife comes along with all these ideas and I haven't had a grand opening yet because Ontario's been locked down for like 18 years. But one day we'll open up and I will be doing more than referrals and virtuals and we'll get it going.
Well,
So
it's a
that's fun.
beautiful space.
Thank you.
To speak to those photos, this is an idea that I've had, and somebody needs to do it. But um, take a like maybe once we're all opened or something like that, and there's like a Pilates, like even Momentum Fest would be a great place to do this. We need to like hire a photographer, have everybody
Yes.
do photos on the equipment or this and that, and we need to somehow put them out there into the
Yes.
public domain so that we have, every
Body.
body in the public domain doing Pilates. I do not
Agreed.
know anything about that, but I think somebody should do it.
Yes.
It would be so awesome because it is interesting, this whole photo situation,
Hmm.
that, yeah, we need more.
Public domain pictures.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you've put that out there in the universe. It's now recorded for eternity, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come to pass and you can get all the credit for it.
Oh, thank you.
Just put it
But
like
no, I
I'm just,
want somebody else to do it.
I know, right? But it's so funny because you have so much spare time, right? Like you only have like
Uh-huh.
5 gigs going on right now, so
Yeah.
yeah, totally. So what else do you have going on? So you're teaching. I know that you have a dance background. Can you just talk about some of the other hustles that you have going on at the same time as your
Sure.
business?
So I moved to Los Angeles after college. I was a dance major in college. I've been dancing since I was 3. And so I moved to LA to pursue a professional dance career. So I do that as well. I just had my first live dance performance 2 weeks on today, 2 weeks ago today.
Wow,
And
cool.
it was amazing, and I like felt alive again. It was really, I didn't know if I wanted to go back to dancing, and I
Yes.
feel terrible even saying that out loud because it's my first love and like
Mhm.
the thing that's been in my life longer than, anybody else except for my parents. Um, and so that was amazing to just like be able to go and do that thing that like
Yes. Makes you
is,
come alive.
yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
that was pretty awesome. So I'm doing that. I'm acting as well. Nothing really going on right now. It was a really slow year just because of COVID.
Of course.
And then I just went back into the Pilates studio last week for the first time live. And
Okay.
so I'm easing into that and then trying to ease back into everything else. And then I'm going to go home for 2 weeks to maybe a month. I don't know, because I haven't seen my family in like almost 2 years. So
Crazy.
I just want to go home and be with them and hang
Yes.
out and have fun. So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
so yeah. But I'm excited after I get back from seeing my family to dance and perform and all of that stuff again.
Yes. And
So
do you,
it's
you teach dance as well?
I don't. I used to teach when I first moved out here, and really enjoyed it. It was super fun. And I feel like it really added to being able to teach Pilates.
Of
But
course.
I was like, if I'm teaching dance, then I'm not dancing. So I don't want to teach dance anymore. So I had to like finagle and figure out things. And Pilates is perfect because you can, I teach early in the morning,
Hmm.
and I'm done by like 11, and then I have the middle of the day to audition or work on Good Citizen or whatever it is I need to do. And then I'll
Yes.
teach a little bit in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's nice.
So,
How about you? What's your schedule like? What do you
I'm
usually
a
do?
I'm a morning guy. I really do
Yeah.
like I have 5, 6, 7, like 5:30 a.m.s. And just I feel like if I get stuff done before the rest of the world wakes up, like I'm having a productive day. So
There's
that's
definitely something about being up before everybody else. It's so peaceful and quiet, and it's just like your space. It's really interesting.
absolutely, yeah. And especially with teenagers at home, they wake up at noon anyways, so I can get everything done before they even wake up. So, and
Yeah.
then I don't feel like I'm missing any quality time with them. So it's a win.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Are they doing like homeschool still or?
Right, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
like the school's done for the year, but that was the case where everyone was at home and you know, juicing the internet and for all their classes
Oh.
and stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna leave and then I'll roll in at 2 and then we'll have some fun today. So yeah, so that's
Fun
basically
dad.
yeah, exactly. That's what every like Thursday to Sunday looks like. So
That's cool.
yeah, balancing out. See, oh, Meryl's here, Benjamin, Helen Hayes, some people here.
Hi, Benjamin.
Emmett had a comment earlier. I think clients love seeing pictures of you, the teacher, doing Pilates, as well as pictures of Joe. Like just seeing us in action, right? Like much like you dancing, right? Like you could sit there and talk about how to dance, or they can actually see you like moving.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's you know, this whole idea of like being perfect in Pilates, which I feel like is going away. And I think
Mhm.
it's very, we need, that needs to happen. Like, you're never going to be perfect. One day might be great, the next day might be better, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's good to like see what the body can do. Maybe at its, top, like what is a teaser? What is the goal of
The
teaser if
goal,
it was
yes,
going to be, if you could be perfect?
yes.
Like what would it look like? But then also, what does it look like when you start doing teaser? I mean, I remember the
Hmm.
first time I did a few Pilates exercises and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I feel ridiculous. I look ridiculous. And
Yes,
that's okay. But then
right.
you like progress and you get better. And it's just, doing it over and over again that
Absolutely.
that makes things, get better and feel better.
Yes. And Joel's comment there. Thank goodness the idea of being perfect is going away. Absolutely. I was just thinking as you were saying that, and I was just teaching someone this morning stomach massage. And as a guy with super tight hip flexors, which are now better, not perfect, but better, I remember doing teacher training, and for years after teacher training, I posted this too, like where like I'm doing stomach massage and have my feet on the foot bar, and then and having to take my feet down to change the spring and then get back up because I'm like I can't reach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter how strong and how like perfect your Philip Griffin body can be there. The reality is that like you can be in this place where you're so strong but just not mobile, or so mobile but not strong. And so everything is going to look not perfect for somebody.
Yeah,
So why not just celebrate the fact that we're all on this journey? We're all working towards something instead of saying this
exactly.
is what the gold star, this is the end, and I've arrived. Here we are, right?
Yeah, exactly. I like to do yoga as well, and
Mm,
pigeon is my nemesis. And I
yes,
have some clients who can just plop in the pigeon,
yes,
and I'm like, how? How? Like
right.
my hips do not do that.
Right. Too funny. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear from people who are in the chat. What exercise is your nemesis? Now, 15 years teaching, this exercise is still your nemesis. as Joel puts, I epitomize doing Pilates imperfectly. It's so funny.
That's a good question. Well, I haven't really done any Pilates in the past year except for mat Pilates, and so I'm terrified to go back on the reformer and
Yes.
like do like teaser on the reformer, like that whole like where you're just like
Yes.
rocking and like please don't fall backwards, that
Right.
whole
Yes.
thing. So we'll see how that goes soon, I
One leg
guess.
circle in the mat. Yes.
Yes, one leg circle. That's all I've been doing all year.
That's so funny.
How about
I
you? What
horseback.
besides horseback?
Horseback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That one
And
just
like
doesn't feel good on the inner thighs.
I like subconsciously skip it and don't even realize that I had skipped it. That's how much my body, I have to be very intentional about like making that in. Like we're starting with horseback today and we're finishing with horseback today, or else
Uh-huh.
it's gonna be like, like one of those days.
Yeah. But those are the exercises that we need more. And it's crazy. If you just do it more, it becomes easier, you know? No?
Yeah, well, spine twist on the mat too. Saw was my like was one of those ones like I'm just like rubbing my head thinking about saw because like it was one of those things where my body, yes, you got to work at it. You have to keep working at it, and then there's times that like you just know that you're never gonna get it, and that's fine. Like that's
Right.
yeah.
I think the thing that I, because I'm like a little bit of a Gumby when it comes to flexibility, and so my nemesis is not hyperextending and lifting up and not sitting in my joints
Mhm.
and that whole thing. So that's the thing that I'm
Swan
constantly having
dive.
to think about.
Yes. So yes, and swan dive too. That's
Swan
another
dive.
fun one. Horseback and me don't match well, but swan on the mat is the worst for me. True. Like +1 right there.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Do you does your husband do plies? Are you able to get him?
Um, occasionally. Um,
That's a no.
it
Okay.
was getting better before COVID, and then COVID hit, and it was just like out the door.
Yes.
But I'm hoping, I always cross my fingers, but then I told him he's not allowed to complain about aches and pains if he doesn't do Pilates or go help himself anymore.
Right.
So that's where we are.
Tough love. All right.
How about
Yes.
your family? Do they do Pilates too?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Alex likes doing Pilates, and she's always like, if only I knew a Pilates instructor, sort of thing. Every time,
Right?
right? Like, So yeah, so there's times that we've done a lot of Pilates, like when she had like her knee injury, and instead of doing physio, we did Pilates the whole time and got her moving again. So that was great. Or when things locked down and we couldn't go anywhere, she was in here because it's open for
Awesome.
me. So yeah, she's in it. I get my kids to do it occasionally, my sons, and we'll do it when they're hurting. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's awesome. How has your like athletic background helped with teaching Pilates and all of that? I think it's so interesting to be from, that kind of a background and how does it
right.
translate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like that is one of the things that I use to attract other athletes to it, to say like, as an athlete, this is something that, from an injury perspective, when I was playing football and as a high school and I hurt my back and I went to a chiro and they said, well, your back will stop hurting you if you stop playing football. So I was like, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what else can we do? And I found Pilates, and the more I was going to Pilates, the less I had to go to a chiro. And there's fantastic chiros out here, like the guys here. So I'm not knocking chiros, but this guy was just like, just stop.
Yeah.
So I figured that like Pilates did help me. And then as I got more into it and dove deeper into understanding the system, how it works, I recognized that there's a performance component to it. And this was the missing link for me. And I was kicking myself that I didn't have Pilates when I was actually playing, because I think that it would have made a difference.
Totally.
Right. So that's kind of where I come from. So as an athlete, I'm saying for my guys, I say all the time, this is the missing link for you. You squat, you bench, you deadlift, you train, you're on the field, but Pilates, getting that mobility and strength through your full range of motion, is going to
Hmm.
help your reaction time, that coupling time for your firing of, your hips and your glutes. And getting the right muscles firing and the right muscles to relax as well. Like, so that's my shtick right there. Is like
Yeah,
athletes need it. So,
that's awesome.
yeah, and
I
it's a
would love, sorry,
different
go ahead.
compliment. No, sorry, I was gonna say like
Mhm.
as a dancer, someone who is super bendy, then it's a different dialogue than someone who has crazy tight hips. And how do you speak to that, right? And
Right.
all that stuff. So,
Yeah. It would be a dream to be able to work with a football player. I secretly always wanted to be a football player since I was little, because I grew up in Texas, so football's
uh,
crazy there, and I was a
yes.
Texas Longhorn fan, going to the games with my dad, and so I
Mhm.
always was like obsessed with them. So
Yes.
I think it would be really cool to be able to work with big giant athletes that they do amazing stuff, and then you bring them into the Pilates studio and it would just be interesting to see what happens.
Yes. Interesting is the word. It really is because there's times when, and I'm sure for those of you in the chat who work with like football players specifically, because it's such a demanding sport in different ways, they're super strong. We're strong in some areas, but then it create like amazingly weak in other areas because your body needs certain muscles to be super developed for that movement pattern for the sport, and there's others that like can just get away with being dormant.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like the
Yeah.
whole team, you'd take the whole team and you would literally have to give everybody something different, just like you would with whoever walks into the Pilates studio and, for their
Yes.
first session.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Right. And talking with one of the ladies who works with the guys who play for the Raiders, I think it
Hmm.
is in LA, and she was saying that you once you get into that world, and then you have say like the linebackers, so we're going to talk like actual technical players, and then you have a linebackers, and you're working with them for plays, and then you have the outside linebackers, and they need different exercises than the inside linebackers because for their
Right.
position, the inside linebacker guys are bigger guys are facing guys head on, whereas the outside linebackers are blitzing more and they need like they're usually a bit leaner and more fast twitch muscles to be able to be more explosive. So there's a sense of even within the sport, your training becomes like position specific and then
Right.
right side or left side position specific. And you know what I mean? Like it just goes down another level and then it goes down another level and then it goes down another level from there. So that's what's interesting with football because all the positions on the field are so specific. It's not like basketball where everyone needs to jump, run, pass, catch, shoot.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like all five people on the court need to do all those things. On the football field, not everyone has the exact same role and responsibility. So your
Hmm.
training becomes specific to their role.
I wonder if they, within their training that they do, at practice or whatever, if they, I'm sure they do this, but this is just the dancer brain, if
Yes.
they, work both sides evenly, because if you just work one side, then you're gonna, eventually probably injure the other side.
Absolutely.
So it's like, I don't know. I just have always been so fascinated with football and like, can
Yes.
I come just sit in and watch all of the things that you're doing?
Absolutely. Yes. Jackie, you would have so much fun working with that. Because like, if you had a quarterback
Yeah,
come in who obviously has had 10 million repetitions with one arm and obviously doesn't throw with
right.
the other, when you start throwing exercise at him where he needs to be balanced or unilateral and one side is, not as dominant or overdeveloped, all those different things, you have so much fun working with that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it is super fun to just work with like dominant sport, like one side dominant sports, pitchers, quarterbacks, soccer player, the guys can go right or left, but like, you know what I mean? Like there's side dominant athletes that now you're starting to bring balance to their body. You can totally help them.
Yeah. That would be so cool. Hello, anybody out there?
I know. There you go. And the other thing too, I have to say is that, and for those who are watching who want to get into like some area of specialty like that, the fact that we're curious, the fact that we're always learning, puts us in a place where we don't have to be intimidated if someone walks in the door who's like some guy from Texas Longhorns, like a first year blue chip, scholarship kid walks in and wants to start working with you. You can just do you. Like you could totally figure it out as you go, and they'll work with you on it. Like someone said in the chat here, big guys end up loving Pilates. Like they do because it makes sense in their body.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always so cool to see them. Like, there's teachers out there that post about working with football players, and it's always just like, I just can't stop watching. It's so interesting.
It's pretty
I
fun.
don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. You got to just like start marketing to that
I know,
population.
right?
Yeah.
I
I think you just
know.
did, tell you. Pretty
This is
much.
the commercial for it.
This is the commercial for it. So cheers to your new gig.
Yes, yes. That's
Now,
so
do you work with
funny.
a lot of dancers? Like, since that's your world, like, do you work with a lot of Pilates? Do Pilates for a lot
I
of
have a
dancers? Like,
few
understanding that?
dancers,
Okay.
yeah, younger girls like in high school,
Hmm.
who are going to go on to, try and have professional careers. And then I have a lot of moms, and I am so lucky. I actually have lots of men.
Very cool.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, it's so interesting when I listen to other instructors talk about things, and I'm like, wow, I really do have, like, the whole gambit of everything, and it's just like really interesting.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So,
that's great.
and I
How
have
is
worked
that?
with some athletes, but it's good. It's really good. Like, the studio I teach at, I love the owner. It's called Good Body Pilates. It's in Santa Monica, and the owner,
Okay.
Emily's fantastic. It's just a very welcoming space, and um, I just love all my clients. And a lot of them, I've had clients since I started that are still with me. Like, it's crazy.
Yes.
And it's just like you build this little like Pilates family, and sometimes I see them more than I see my husband, which is so bizarre.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID. I was on, Zoom with them constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's fun, but
That's awesome. So in the 8 minutes that we have left, can you just like talk about like how you even found Pilates in the first place?
yeah, when I was in high school, I did a mat Pilates class. There was a teacher that came in to sub, and she warmed us up with a little Pilates. So I was like, what is this? It was just like a taste. It wasn't even like the
Yes.
full thing. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And then when I went to college, I was a dance major, and it was part of the curriculum.
Mhm.
So I uh, tried it there, but the way they had this gorgeous space with all this equipment, but they started us on the mat, and it was so slow. And but I really, now thinking back at it, I
Yes.
really learned a lot because
Hmm.
I was able to understand, like, articulating and moving
Yes.
one part of the body, da da da. Um, and so that's where I was kind of introduced back to it and really got into it. And then when I moved to LA, I got a job in retail, and I was like working that for a while, and I was like, I literally can't do this anymore. So no offense to retail, but it was not for me. Um, and so I just randomly went into a studio one day and asked them, about getting certified, and it was Maria Leone's studio.
Okay.
And I convinced my parents to help me out just a bit
Yeah,
because it's
just a
expensive,
lot.
and
I know, eh?
retail doesn't really help
Yeah.
pay the bills. So I ended up getting certified, and here we are. So
Amazing.
yeah.
So
So
thanks
thanks,
to mom and
Mom.
dad. Yes.
Thanks, Mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's very
I
cool.
was lucky. Yeah. So that was nice of them because, man, I was a struggle bus out here for quite some time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So no, so what's next for the business? So Good Citizen LA. So in terms of the loops, like where do we go next with this?
Um, we would like to expand into other products. And that's something that we're working on now, but we have decided that we're taking our time. Like, this is
Mhm.
so, things have to be right. And uh, I feel like, that's kind of been how everything started. I came up with the idea in '06 and didn't launch until 2015. And so
Yes.
things take time, and I just don't want to be one of those companies that just rushes into doing this or that, and it just not being something that I'm proud of. So
Yeah,
we're, looking to do new things, and those are all in the works, but it's a process that we want to take our time with. So,
very cool.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's like build it well, not fast.
hmm Yeah. And if everybody wants to use their own loops, we're like here and ready for, like Joe said, he wanted everybody to be doing Pilates. Well, I want everybody to be doing Pilates with their own loops.
There you go.
So,
That's awesome. So yeah, can you put your website in the chat there, please? And
yeah, of
I'll put it
course.
up again when we repost it. But yeah, because I want definitely want to check it out. Like, I've seen it, and now it's very cool to hear about like for for classical equipment, if people are comfortable with like the loops and handles, the options there as well. Like that's and just from a hygiene perspective, I think that this like you have such great timing with this in terms of something that's been out there that now I'm sure people they have way more eyes on it now as a result of where we're at, right? So
Yeah. COVID really pushed the business over the edge. So
you think?
it was like perfect timing.
Yes.
But yeah, but I mean, MRSA and cold viruses and all the flu and all that can stay on surfaces for up to 4 days. So I know those Pilates studio owners say they wash those loops, but they're not. You can't wash loops every day after each Pilates client. So
Yeah.
just a
Yes.
little food for thought.
Right. Right. You can
Yeah.
like, I mean, like it's you don't want to like go on the scare tactic to sell people, but like there's so much that makes sense with this and appeals to people in so many different ways that it's I think it's a great idea. So very, very fun. I love the fun colors and all that stuff. I could see
Thank
people getting
you.
into that. So
Yeah.
yeah, very, very good stuff.
Well,
I'm just
thank
making
you.
sure I didn't miss any comments here. Someone said earlier when we were talking about the Plies Nemesis, I can give you a top 10 of my Plies Nemesis.
I love it. I would like to hear that list.
I know, right? Let's put it in
Yeah.
the chat after. And Sarah, awesome. Sweet.
This
Thank
is
you so much
so
for joining us.
fun. Thank
Yeah,
you for doing this. Like, I just love that you're bringing the community together, and you're just, I don't, just a warm, like, person that just, I feel like you're the perfect person to like do this. And it's just like lovely. We're also detached currently due to COVID, but then, we've got this to come on and like listen to everybody speak, and you just are fantastic. And I have to get caught up at the end of the week because I'm teaching when you're live, but I see it pop up and I'm like, everybody's having fun online except for me. But
I know.
thank you so much for doing this. You're
My
amazing.
pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
Thank you
awesome.
so much. Like your Helen Keller story at the beginning was so touching. Like it's like I didn't mean to
Helen.
like make you cry like 3 minutes out of the gate there, but
No.
like that's like those are the stories I love hearing. Like I mean like it's one thing to have a cool catchy name and a fun product, but when you hear the why behind the product, that's where I'm
Yeah.
like, sign me up, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So good stuff.
Helen. Yeah. I love
Great.
her.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. I'll send you the replay later. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Emmett, Joel, see you guys. Appreciate everyone out there. All right. Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks to Jackie. Bye.
See you later.